Hey guys, welcome to That Florida Feeling. How is everybody? Happy 7-Eleven. I can't believe we're already this far into July. It's crazy to me. But, so far the Atlantic's quiet. I'm happy about that. Although I hate to see what's happening in Texas and North Carolina. It's just awful. I haven't seen anything that I could post yet on any of the Facebook stuff that anybody's really helping out with yet. I know the Red Cross is doing stuff. So if you want to donate, always head to the Red Cross. Blood donations are always a good idea. They're always short on blood. So either of those are good ways to help. But my heart really does go out to them. I feel like this has just been a year that we've had a billion once-in-a-lifetime events. I don't know if y'all feel that way, but I do. I'm kind of over these once-in-a-lifetime events, though. Although, I guess being what we call a millennial, I've seen more once-in-a-lifetime events than I care to. So at this point, it's just kind of like, all right, so what's next? What's tomorrow? Shouldn't probably think that way, but yet here we are. So, anyways, today we are going to talk about a place in Florida that you've probably seen, probably didn't know it actually had a name, or used to be a real city. If you've ever seen those videos of like a beach town that looks like it probably used to be a really, really nice little like resort area, and now it looks like that it could just fall into the water at any day. No, I'm not talking about parts of Miami. No, I'm not. Or Clearwater. I think Beyond Florida, if you follow them on TikTok or Instagram, I think they just did a video on it. But it's actually in St. Johns County. It's not too far from St. Augustine. And it's actually a town or an unincorporated community called Summerhaven. Summerhaven is actually, it still exists. It's an unincorporated community in southeast St. Johns County. And it's just south of the Matanzas Inlet on a very, very narrow strip of land between a very shallow marsh and the Atlantic Ocean. Some days the strip of land is a little bit bigger. Some days it's a little bit smaller. It's kind of how that part of the land works some days. But when Summerhaven started, it started with this amazing idea, this amazing dream. It was going to be this great small beach resort. It was going to be a town for people to get away. It was going to be snowbirds. It was going to be about 60 structures. It was going to be just this great thing where the rich and famous could go to get away, and it was what the dream of what Florida really started as for the rich and famous. Like, we're going to get away. We're just going to look at the beach. We're going to be warm, and then when actual summer comes, we don't want to sweat to death down here, we're going to go back up north. And that's really what it started as. It was a small beach resort, which began with cottages that were actually used by farmers, believe it or not. People used to farm that area. And it consisted of about 60 structures. A lot of them were single-family homes. And, of course, they were built up on pylons, so that when the tide got really high, it didn't disrupt the actual structures. And what really brought people down here and got the attention of, the more famous, the more rich, was about 1890. In 1890, Thomas A. Mellon, he kind of started vacationing in Summerhaven. Nobody had ever really, really heard of it. It's just south of St. Augustine. Of course, Henry Flagler had already come to the area, began to use the area and rebuild the area. But Thomas A. Mellon had come and gone a little bit further south, and he started vacationing in Summerhaven. And eventually, people heard about it. He liked it. He told other people about it. And the community started to attract other well-known people. Some like Cornelius Vanderbilt Whitney, who is very rich and very famous. He was, at that time, a businessman, a film producer, a government official, a philanthropist, and he actually owned a lot of thoroughbred racehorses. Owen D. Young was another one. He was also a businessman, a lawyer. He was a diplomat at the Second Reparations Conference in 1929 after, I believe it was the First World War. And so, a lot of people, and even the author Marjorie Keenan Rawlings, who was actually an American writer who actually lived in rural Florida. Her best work is The Yearling. If you've ever read that, that was her most famous thing. She actually used to come to Summer Haven. So lots of famous people in that time used to come, used to visit, used to like to stay during the winter, and even some through the summer. But it became popular. It became populated. It was nice. It had the amenities for that time, and they would go up into St. Augustine, and they would, you know, do their thing, stay at the Ponce de Leon Hotel, which is now Flagler. They would come back and they would have fun. Um, but as everything happens in Florida, times change. People find other places to stay. Florida grew. The Great Depression hit. Other places got bigger, and Summer Haven just kind of stayed the same. And as we all know, hurricanes tend to hit Florida yearly, sometimes several times a year. And that was the case at Summer Haven. And the worst one being a severe nor'easter in 1962. Very severe one, really, really bad, hit in 1962. And Summer Haven was actually officially declared a disaster area. Pretty much uninhabitable, heavily damaged, pretty much loss of everything. A couple structures still standing, and that really caused the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to realize that this was kind of a problem. This was not well protected from Mother Nature, especially the way it sat on that marsh and right at the ocean. And this caused the U.S. Words are hard. This caused the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to construct an 1,800-foot granite revetment, which it's kind of like they redug out the river. Is pretty much the best way to put it. They kind of it's like a stream or a river restoration, and they kind of re-engineered the sides of it. Yeah, best way to put it. I don't know. I don't explain this. That's obviously not my specialty. I don't explain it very well, so I tried. But they basically rebuilt the northern part to protect it, and that was in 1962. And then, of course, this lovely, lovely storm hit Florida in 1964 called Hurricane Dora. And Hurricane Dora was a bit much for Florida. And it did go pretty much right towards, it ended up over Summer Haven. And, the existing revetment, which kind of fronts the majority of the upper land development, which is the north part, it kind of got messed up a lot. And so they had to rebuild it and extend it by another 1,000 or so, 1,100 feet. And, so this really caused nothing to get rebuilt there. And now the only thing you can see is, if you look where that the revetment, the rebuilt is, if you look south, there is one row of single-family residence homes that still stand. And that is usually what you see, is those still standing, barely standing homes that look like that they could fall in at any minute. And when possible, St. Johns County has actually been purchasing the structures and the land in the southern area, and they don't allow any development. Absolutely no development. And the reason for that is because it's not safe. Again, it's just due to the shifting sands, the fact that it is not well, there's nothing to hold it. It's not built up. And we really saw that when the last few hurricanes, especially toward Daytona, where like the seawalls just fell in. That's kind of the same thing that's going on here. So St. John's has been purchasing it and buying it whenever people sell it. And in all honesty, Hurricane Matthew in 2016, which, oh my God, that's been about 10 years. That's really been about 10 years. Oh, okay, that just hit me. Because I remember Hurricane Matthew. That's the one that really, really flooded St. Augustine, which is only, I would say, 20 or 25 minutes north of Summer Haven. When Hurricane Matthew hit, it went up the coast. And it it flooded everything. And it was not nice. And it took forever for that water to recede. If you ever go into St. Augustine, you can actually see on a lot of the buildings the high water lines. And they are pretty high. And so imagine this little tiny strip of land against 20-foot storm surges. It did not do well. And Hurricane Matthew actually destroyed the existing revetment, which had already happened to the north. And that actually caused FEMA and St. Johns County to rebuild and extend it. They just actually finished it this June. They just finished rebuilding that revetment. But you can still see that one row of single-family residences that look like they're going to fall down and fall in at any moment, or one single storm is going to wipe them out. But somehow, these have really still stood to every storm, every test of time. I kind of want to know what the hell they built them back then. I want that house. But that is Summerhaven. Summerhaven started as an amazing dream, a beautiful idea that farmers used and then the rich and famous used, and now it is one single row of family residences just waiting to get taken out. And you can still see them. You really could. Up until the construction of Old A1A Road in the 1920s, Summerhaven used to only be accessible by boat. Because it really is just this. It really only looks like a little tiny island. If you ever pull it up on Google Maps, it looked like it literally sits like an island. Now you can go over A1A, and you can see it off in the distance, and you can actually get to it now. But you used to have to get to it by boat, or you'd have to drive on the beach. And because this section of Florida State Road A1A tends to wash out a lot, and I'm going to tell you right now, it still does to this day, they had to move it inland. Like it used to be, A1A used to actually be right on the beach, like a lot more on the beach than it is today. But after the 1970s and Hurricane Dora, they kind of had to move official A1A in, and old A1A became a county road and doesn't really, it exists, it does, but not nearly to what it was today. I don't even know if people still use it. And of course, the road was rebuilt after washouts caused by Hurricane Janine in 2004, Tropical Storm Faye in 2008. And local residents filed suit to ensure ongoing maintenance of the road and the county. And the decision was actually issued in May of 2011. Attorney Thomas Rupert of the Florida Sea Grant and Peter Bine of Georgetown University have expressed concerns about the broader consequences of the precedent set by this case, which actually enables more affluent property owners to sue in order to fund the actual rebuilding on the grounds that engineers have failed to anticipate sea level rise. The precedents set have the potential to redirect public funding towards expensive, unrealistic projects that are towards the affluent and away from coastal mitigation measures in less affluent communities, which I thought that was very interesting because it does prove that the local residents that filed suit that still live over in that area that supposedly still use this old county road, that can still get into, that live towards Summerhaven, that own that land, that they haven't sold. It's very, possible that they're filing suit to try to get the county to still pay for all this. And I find that just absolutely fascinating that, one, you would kind of still want to live on an area that literally floods every time there's king tide. And king tide is just, so it's a higher tide than normal. It's, so basically king tides, when they come in, they're higher tides than normal. They're always predicted. They usually happen in certain times of the year, usually in the fall, and they always flood in the low-lying coastal areas. They're really, really specific in St. Augustine. King tide in St. Augustine has been even known to flood over into Avenida Menendez, which is like the main road. So, to live in that area and know that even at king tide, you could not get to your house, that just amazes me that anybody would want to live in that area. But I think it's really, really interesting that these people are talking about this, that they filed suit to get the county to try and, rebuild it. and take it. And I think it's great that they talked about taking it away from less affluent communities. I mean, granted, yes, a lot of Florida does sit below sea level. Um, and that is something that you take into account when you live in Florida. But, that's also something you take account to when you live on the beach. That's just part of it. That's why every opportunity that we've had to live near or on the beach, we've not taken it, because if a hurricane hits, you're kind of on that first level of you're going to get hit. So it just amazes me that's happened. And, St. Johns County still has an ongoing dune restoration, natural beach restoration for the Summer Haven area, because it is a beautiful area, and it's actually part of more like a wildlife preserve. It's in the Matanzas State, like right across from A1A is the Matanzas State Forest, and then there's the Faber Dike State Park, and Washington Oaks Garden State Park, which is one of my favorite, is not far down from Summer Haven. So this entire area is a very well protected, very beautiful, very conservation area, right on the other side of the beach. And Florida does a lot to protect its beaches, and Summer Haven is no exception. But of course, originally in the 1800s, there were lots, that sat directly on this land. And, the old A1A is still the way you have to get in there, very carefully. But there has been a lot of, problems. All the tropical storms, all of the just daily rain, all of the high tides, the king tides, and then you have Matanzas Inlet on the one end that, if you've ever driven down from St. Augustine, like you're going into Palm Coast, if you ever driven that bridge, you drove directly over Matanzas Inlet. That's one of the ends of Summer Haven. And so, it's very interesting to see how they're going to attempt to continue these revetments and to rebuild this area to continue to save Summer Haven. And of course, there are still people that live there. You can still drive past these beautiful, gorgeous homes, and then you can see the homes from the past, the ones that are somehow still standing. And so I do hope that they save Summer Haven. I really, really do. Because Summer Haven is a really, really beautiful place. And there's a reason that people want to live there. They want to live near the Matanzas Inlet and the Summer Haven River. And yes, there is actually a Summer Haven River. But some days it looks like a river, and some days it looks like a pile of sand. And that's just the very interesting part of the flowing waters, the high tides, and everything else that you would have to deal with just from, living in that area. So, is Summer Haven a real place in Florida? Yes, absolutely. Are those houses still standing? Absolutely. Are we sure how? No, probably not. Probably much better engineering than anything we probably live in to this day. But do I want to go see Summer Haven? I've actually seen it. It's actually really, really cool to be able to walk up to it. I don't think we took old A1A. I know we parked somewhere and walked quite a ways to get to it down the beach. And was it really cool to see up close? Yeah, absolutely. It was absolutely gorgeous. It was such an interesting stark contrast between this absolutely beautiful ocean and this just almost haunting home that somebody used to have great memories at, and now it's just a shell of what it used to be. So it's really cool to see, natural Florida, new Florida, which is tourist, having an absolute blast. You could hear them probably 200 feet away. And then this just old shell of probably what used to be somebody's beautiful home. So I think Summer Haven is one of those places that is probably classified as abandoned Florida, but it would be really cool to check out. If you do go check it out, don't be one of those people. Don't do it. Just take your pictures, drive by it, keep on going. Don't be Florida Man. Don't do that. Although, speaking of Florida Man, did y'all hear what Florida Man did this week? Florida Man, for his birthday, got high on meth, stole a train, went joyriding, and picked up passengers. Yeah, he just picked up one of them little trains and just, he just decided he was going to have everybody celebrate with him. Although, so my only question is, like, what did the passengers think when they picked him up? Also, did you not notice something was up with the man when you got on the train? That's my question. Like, yeah, so it was in Key West. He took a Key West conch tour train on the 4th of July, nonetheless. He was celebrating his birthday and apparently 4th of July. The guy left his own car running at the train depot and then took the stolen train. And if you see this guy's picture, you can tell he was happy on something. But yeah, like, I just want to know, like, what did the people like, the people that got on the train, though? That's really what I want to know. Yeah, he apparently went driving down through Key West, picked up 2 random passengers while he was driving the trolley, and kept on going. He didn't damage the vehicle. They got it back, and he apparently just left it parked somewhere. He was found at the southernmost buoy, and he told authorities he didn't steal it. He simply borrowed it because it was his birthday. I'm pretty sure he had a very good birthday. Go Florida man on that one. But don't do drugs, y'all. Don't do drugs. I hope you guys enjoyed learning about a very interesting, kind of abandoned, still existing place in Florida. I thought it was very interesting. I just wanted to talk about it. I've seen it. I actually didn't know it was a real. I didn't know it was a place. I just thought it was somebody's summer homes that just, were still there. I didn't know it was actually a place. I think it's really cool that we found out that that's Summer Haven. So I hope you guys enjoyed learning about a mostly abandoned place. And if you guys want to know anything else about Florida, definitely check out my old episodes. I have plenty of them. Don't forget to check out the socials. Thank you to all those of you who do check out the socials. I love the comments, the post. Anytime you want to share. If you do have an idea for an episode or you want to hear a certain topic, just reach out. You can comment on any of the posts. You can message me on any of the social medias. I do have an email, thatfloridafeel@gmail.com. If you're looking for a new podcast, don't forget to check out Unfiltered Studios. There's some awesome people doing some awesome stuff over there. All right, guys. I hope everybody has a good week. Don't forget, happy 7-Eleven. Be nice to one another. Wear your sunscreen, guys. Drink your water. And as always, that's your daily dose of sunshine.
This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.